Yeah, I reckon they did exorcism up here. And these are the remains in the main assembly hall. So it'd be nice to hear at some point if there's a heroic personage in here somewhere. So, okay, if this is based upon a Stephen King book, who is usually the hero of a Stephen King book? I'm expecting... Okay, so, in good story structure, you need an introduction. You know, you need to be someone to be... Someone needs to be the eyes of the reader. Yeah, they need to be... Needs to be a reason. If people suddenly start explaining things for no reason, you know, Netflix programs, I'm looking at you. If someone starts explaining things for no reason when they don't really need to, because the two people involved already know everything about the thing they're explaining, it jars. It jars in the mind, because unless you're really not watching the program, you're just doing something else on your phone or while that's on, then it doesn't feel right. So this is why you need to have someone fresh coming in. You know, other good storytelling things do this, of course, as well. Like there's more demonic weirdness. You know, we need to be able to understand. Being new somewhere in games or stories or anything else gives a reason for people to explain why things are the way they are, and maybe why the person could change them. So a new person in the factory is going to be the way to go, isn't it? Really? It could be a new young person, and there'll be an older person, an older fella, who'll be like the guide, the mentor, the guide to guide them through. This is how things have always been done, Sonny. Yes, don't go down for storage room 3. No one goes down there anymore, not since what happened to Greg. Well, this is really quite disturbing, by the way. Undulating groin in front of us. In you go, Jenny boy. Oh, Greg. No one talks about Greg anymore. It was quite horrifying. Terry Pratchett made fun of this, because it isn't a Viscera video of mine without some reference to Terry Pratchett. But some of the stories used to joke about Mr. Hong. What happened to Mr. Hong in the when he opened his new restaurant on the old burial ground kind of thing, you know, on the spooky old sacrificial ground. And no, you never find out what happens to Mr. Hong, apart from the fact that everybody knows about it, and it was horrifying. It was like Elder Gods type, turning you inside out type event, is what we presume from it. But you don't need to know, and everybody else already knows. They just reference it in passing, and everyone just knows what it means. Shorthand. It's shorthand for bad things happening. So yes, those are the two main characters in the story. We've got an unsympathetic manager who's unsympathetic, but possibly just because they're hard pressed by management. They've got to make this factory work. Yeah, this is if they don't, everyone's going to lose their jobs. I know I'm hard on you boys, but you know, everyone's going to lose their jobs. You've got to work harder. We've got to increase output. You know, this is your job and mine on the line. You know, I'm getting a lot of pressure from management upstairs for us to increase turnout. And I know you don't like it, and I have to cut holding short, but that's where we are. Do you want to lose your jobs? Do you want to sit out on the who else is going to get employment around here? You're going to have to move away somewhere. Yeah, we're filling out the characters. Who else do we need here? Possibly love interest, but not necessarily. That's quite old school, isn't it? Really, you know. Who's the? Is there going to be a damsel in distress? Modern stories, you know, tend to subvert this. And Mr. King can be, for whatever else he is, can be a very aware person of the trends of society. So this is a newer story. Excuse me. It's not necessarily a damsel in distress, but there's some degree of that. A bit of love interest, maybe? Who knows? We've got a bunch of disposable people to which horrible things will happen. At least one of which we're going to feel sympathy for, and one of which we aren't. Almost certainly, Mr. Manager. The floor manager is going to get iced at some point in some horrible fashion. And we've got a priest. I reckon the priest is probably it's kind of useless, maybe a drunk priest. That's been done before with Father Callahan in Salem's Lot. Must be exorcising the demons, vampires. But you don't really have any faith because you're almost a fallen figure. Although Father Callahan does have a comeback in at least 2 other stories: Hearts of Atlantis and one of the Dark Tower stories, I remember as well. One of the later ones. Maybe it is only Hearts of Atlantis. I don't know. Anyway, he gets his his arc flips around, and he's not the fallen priest forever. But yeah, possibly a useless priest who either doesn't really understand the exorcism or messes it up in some way. Who else could we have? Other good characters? I don't know. Obviously, a lot of this is going to be blamed for this, work. Maybe one of the early people to get killed is a drunk or a bit incompetent, and therefore we can play it off as oh, but he didn't know what he was doing. He just fell in the machine. He's a fool. We always told him he was going to do it one day. He was going to lose a hand or worse. It's not demonic possession. Are you mad? What's wrong with you? Good stuff. We'll see. Well, I will read the book and we'll see if Mr. King has gone with it. Is it a good Stephen King or a bad Stephen King? They tend to fall quite hard into both. One of each category. There we go. I tell you what I've read recently as well. So there was a weird lead up to this. Stuff on Twitter. For ages I've been off Twitter, and I just came back onto it again. What was I looking in there? I don't know. Yeah, I went through a stage earlier in the year where first of all, I gave Twitter a good old cleaning, or at least my timeline a good old cleaning. I basically trashed anything. It's part of my stepping away from the world, possibly. I don't know, but what is it storage here? Is it storage? It's just a line, isn't it? It's just a line, demarcation line. Anyway, yeah, quite a time ago, I'd gone through and I'd just gone like, okay, I've come back to Twitter after ages, but I don't want any of this political nonsense on here mostly. I want to dump all this stuff. So I cleared out an awful lot of people I followed just because, and blocked other things. So I just didn't want to hear about it anymore. There's no point, all the misery and crapiness. I didn't quite want, just cute cats and puppies on there. But I didn't want to be dealing with that stuff anymore because it's, sometimes it's bad for you. It's bad for your mental health. But one of the things on there that was kind of fun was there was a thing on old science fiction book covers, and you're probably already aware that I've read science fiction for a very long time. Big fan of sci-fi. I read a lot of stuff, the old classics. There was a kind of a strange image on there of because some of these sometimes the old sci-fi stories, sometimes they would not be at all related. Anything in here? Just that half a room. Come on, Rhubarb. Some of the covers had very little link to the story itself. Now, sometimes the cover would be, people have a commission. I want you to draw a cover, and it needs to show this. This is this particular scene from the book, this particular character. And the artist has got some latitude to do what they like around that, but they've got their commission that they have. Other times, spaceship on front cover, shooting guns. Weird alien doing X. And it didn't really need to be, particularly the anthologies, particularly sci-fi anthologies. That's what they were like, because you didn't really need more than that. It was just an attention grabber to get someone to try and buy the book, or at least read the back cover. Maybe buy the book. And one of these was actually related to the content of the book, but it was a picture of a man holding an anthropomorphic insect in like a kiss me hardy type pose. You know what I mean? Where the layer is not well in some ways. Is clearly not happy, stunned, or ill, or maybe dying. The other person's holding them in their arm. So the man, the spacesuit man, the spaceman. Let's call it a spaceman. Was holding the bug, anthropomorphic bug, in his arms and looking longingly into its multifaceted eyes. And I made some stupid comment on Twitter. I can't remember what it was. A couple of people liked it. The usual stuff. But someone commented that this was from I think someone said about getting more anthropomorphic bugs in stories, and not the usual just kill the bugs type thing. And someone recommended a series that I'd never read. It's Alan Dean Foster, which I have read Alan Dean Foster before, and I'm trying to think what I've read from them. A classic old sci-fi writer. And they recommended a story about the meeting between an insectoid type civilization and man. And this is something that interested me because it's something I've thought about for a long time. The meeting from the aspect of the bug rather than the humans. Excuse me, and the biology. I need to have a drink. My goodness, my throat's very dry. I've got no coffee left. Damn it. The view from the opinion of the bug, and I shouldn't call them a bug, from the insectoid, and bits about their society, but hard enough sci-fi that it actually makes sense. And then what would man be like? What aspect of man would we have here? Would we have, you know what I mean, with the warlike humanity, or broken recovering humanity, angelic humanity? What aspect of us that we like to display ourselves as would it be? We'll keep you down here for now, buddy. We'll need you at some point. I did some random mockers again. And this is what the story is, and it's really quite good. There's a few. It's still an older story. I got it from a second-hand bookshop. Support your second-hand book. Support your bookshops. I didn't even realise you were here. Oh, for God's sake! Of course you're here because I need to install. Well, thank you very much. I need to install the medic kits, don't I? And there, what this says. It's about the big dispenser, I think. Anyway. For goodness sake. There we go. Let's get a light. To guide you in dark places. All the lights go out. Etc, etc. Yeah, so it's support your bookshops, support your second-hand bookshops. Don't just buy it from Bezos. Yeah, please don't. I don't even buy through Bezos. Go if you find something and you find it first on Amazon, because of course you do. That's how they work. Try to find the actual shop where it's coming from, and maybe you might pay £1 more or something, a little bit more. But if you can, do it, because it's not going to get you. It's only going to get worse. If you keep using the Amazons, no matter how convenient it is, no matter how much you think you're saving, if you can use something else, it's in your interest in the end. Anyway, enough preaching. I got it from second-hand bookshop, so it's an older book, and it's not cringy in place. It's not really old bad sci-fi, but in a few places you're a little bit, that's not in an insensitive way, not in, that's a bit rapey, that kind of thing. Well, that's a bit oppressive that's a bit misogynistic or anything. It's not like that. Alan Dean Foster is possibly only was, I don't know. I haven't looked up the biog. A good writer in that way, but older writings, you can't help but be a little bit out of touch sometimes, like me. What can you do? But mostly it's really pretty good. There's no painful any painful tropes in there? A few things I could argue with from my biology knowledge. But it's I'm not surprised I don't always agree how the story is. You know, you have to do some ducking and diving and jump through some hoops to make the story progress. Sometimes you have to do a little bit hand wave here and there to make the story move on, otherwise you never get anywhere. Like, why would that ever happen? Not that bad, but you know, why? It's a little bit tenuous why they're doing this, or that's allowed, but you have to make some of that to make the story progress. Is there another body hanging up around here somewhere? No? Just you? Come on then. Let's be having you. We've got clean up to do, you know. Kind of you just clanking around. Making a mess. Yeah, so the story is pretty good, and I'm just really happy. Much like the Stephen King one, where, you know, I've discovered an interesting sounding book, and therefore I can just go out and get that and see it. There's another one recently as well, I can't think what it was. There was another one that was recommended like that, just out of nowhere. What about these lasers? Where's the actual... I think the lasers in the back room. The actual laser I need to use to fix these holes is being... Yes, it's very nice to discover something that you've not come across before. It's like a disappointing version of listening to the podcasts, where you get guests. Ever had this? If you listen to podcasts where you've got a podcast you really like, and it's just perfectly your speed. You just really love it, and occasionally the really good ones will have guests on there. And they can really add to it, depending on the person. It doesn't always work, but a lot of the time. Oh, you know, I really liked you as a guest. It was really good. Now let's go and listen to your podcast, because they've usually got a podcast. Let's go and listen to your podcast as well. Let's see if I can add that to my very limited and very exclusive list. Very exclusive list of podcasts that I listen to on subjects of history, disasters, you know, bad people in history, that kind of thing, you know, science, but real mixture in there. Real mixture of nerdy stuff is what it is I listen to. And so often I found more the rule than anything is that when I actually listen to this guest's podcast, I hate it. Well, not that I hate it necessarily, but I just haven't had any time for it. I'm like, I really like you as a guest, but you individually, I don't know. No. Sorry, just no. And I find that more the rule than anything, sadly enough. But with books, I don't know. Generally speaking, if I catch enough information about a book that I want to read it, generally speaking, I usually enjoy them. Which is surprising. I remember years ago, literally years ago actually, quite a long time ago, one of my friends I used to work with recommended Game of Thrones to me. It was really Game of Thrones. Really very good. Very good thing. And I've read at least as much fantasy, probably slightly less fantasy than I have sci-fi over the years. Have a look at it. Creepy as hell, but getting pretty clean. Come here, you. Damage presumably in the fight. The demonic expunging. Yeah, so I did try to read one of the Game of Thrones. I didn't like it. I just didn't. I didn't in the slightest. And I got the box set at one point because I like the TV show a great deal. And usually when I've got something like this, either like Lord of the Rings, where I know the book really well, and I watch the film and I pick hold of it. Sometimes you get things which is the other way around, and you know, okay, I kind of enjoyed the film or the TV series, and I'd like to read the book now because I want all the extra juicy bits. I want what happened. I want what I enjoyed in the TV series, and I want all the juicy, delicious background, all the backup bits you can't put in a TV series because there isn't time. Unless you're going for the Dune experience, original Dune, where everything's a bloody voiceover, because that's the only way they can cram all the information in there, is a voiceover. To fill in all the background that can't be explained easily through basic visuals. I want that in my story, and I want that in my life, and I want to read that and enjoy that. And I got the Game of Thrones books, and they were so close to the original TV series. I'm sure you might disagree with this, but that's what I could see as far. There wasn't all that juicy background that I wanted. There wasn't all the detail about, thoughts and feelings that you can't easily express in the same way. And it was really disappointing. It was really, really quite disappointing. I still haven't read many of the stories because they weren't generic fantasy. There's something to them, but they're just not as engaging as the sort of things I would generally read and absorb like that. Sorry, George R. R. Martin, you can sob into your tea and coffee when you like, but I'm not so fond of your books. I know, devastating. How will you? Honey, ever? Oh, you're going to roll in your money. Okay, you're going to roll in your money and go and talk to your young girlfriend. I don't even know if George R. R. Martin has a young girlfriend, but there you go. That's what I'm imagining he's doing. He's going to Scrooge McDuck to get over the fact that this English nerd doesn't like his books so much.